Deathworlders are a myth, the alien laughed. Then the human stroked the predator calm part 1, the impossible assignment doctor. Sarah Chen pressed her face against the observation window of the transport vessel as Celestial Research Outpost Prometheus 9 came into view. The massive station floated against the backdrop of a purple nebula, its crystalline structures gleaming like a jewel in the darkness of space. She had traveled 8 months to reach this place, leaving behind everything familiar on Earth to join the most prestigious xenobiology research team in known space. The docking procedure was smooth and efficient. Sarah grabbed her equipment cases and made her way through the airlock. The artificial gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth standard, making her steps feel bouncy and uncertain. A delegation waited for her in the pristine white reception area. Director Vex stood at the center of the group. He was a Korvaxian, standing nearly 3 meters tall with crystalline skin that refracted light into rainbow patterns. His 4 eyes studied Sarah with barely concealed amusement. Behind him stood several other researchers from various species, all watching the human newcomer with curiosity. "Welcome to Prometheus 9, Dr. Chen." Director Vex's voice resonated like wind chimes. His translator device rendered his native language into perfect English. "We are honored to have a human join our team, even if your species has only recently joined the galactic community." Sarah extended her hand for a handshake, then remembered that Korvaxians did not practice physical greetings. She lowered it awkwardly. "Thank you for accepting my application, Director. I have studied your research papers on evolutionary biology. Your work is groundbreaking." A small furry alien with 6 limbs chittered something that made the others laugh. The translator picked it up. "Dr. Mira says your Earth credentials are impressive for such a young civilization. She wonders if you have ever actually seen a dangerous animal or only studied them in books." Sarah felt heat rise to her cheeks. "I have worked directly with grizzly bears, mountain lions, and venomous snakes in their natural habitats. I have certifications in wildlife rehabilitation and predator behavior analysis." Director Vex made a gesture that might have been a smile. "How charming. Here in civilized space, our most dangerous creature is perhaps the size of your hand. Your Earth stories of killer animals sound like primitive mythology to us. They are not stories." Sarah kept her voice level. "Earth evolved differently. Our world had competition for resources, predation, survival pressure. It shaped everything that lives there." The delegation began walking through the corridors of the station. On either side, observation windows showed peaceful alien creatures in comfortable habitats. Sarah saw something resembling a floating flower, a crystalline being that pulsed with gentle light, and a group of small creatures that looked like a cross between rabbits and starfish. "You will find our work here quite tame compared to your imagined dangers," Director Vex said. "We study peaceful life forms from hundreds of worlds. Our techniques are refined over millennia of research. We have never lost a specimen or had a containment failure." They entered a large briefing room where holographic displays showed various creatures and data streams. Sarah set down her equipment and took a seat. Other researchers filed in, all alien species she did not recognize. They whispered among themselves, casting glances at her. Now then, Director Vex activated a central display. "We have a new arrival scheduled for tomorrow, a specimen from an uncharted world designated Kara 7. The survey team has classified it as highly interesting due to its unique physiology and apparent intelligence." The display showed blurry images of something large and dark moving through dense jungle. Sarah leaned forward, her trained eye catching details others might miss. The creature moved with purpose, with the fluid grace of a born predator. Its body structure suggested powerful muscles and natural weapons. "What classification does it fall under?" Sarah asked. "We are calling it a Night Stalker for now," one of the researchers answered, a Delphinian scientist with tentacles instead of arms. "Preliminary scans suggest it is a solitary hunter with advanced sensory capabilities. Quite fascinating." "What are the containment specifications?" "Standard Level 3 protocols. Energy barriers, climate control, automated feeding systems." The Delphinian seemed confident. "The same systems we use for all large specimens." Sarah felt a knot form in her stomach. "Can I review the survey team's behavioral notes?" Director Vex waved a crystalline hand dismissively. The survey team was overly cautious. They described the creature as aggressive, but they probably startled it during collection. Here in a controlled environment with proper care, it will settle down naturally. All creatures do. That is not how predators work. Sarah tried to keep her voice calm and professional. "If this creature evolved as a hunter, Being trapped will increase its stress. It will not settle down. It will look for escape routes and become more dangerous over time. The room fell silent. Then several aliens made sounds that Sarah's translator rendered as polite laughter. "Dr. Chen," Director Vex said with exaggerated patience, "I understand that Earth's primitive conditions may have given you certain ideas about animal behavior. But in civilized space, we have perfected these techniques. Your Deathworlder perspective, while colorful, does not apply to real xenobiological science." Sarah bit back her response. She had faced this attitude before during her application process. The galactic community viewed Earth as a backwater world whose species had somehow stumbled into intelligence, despite their violent origins. They saw human knowledge as primitive superstition rather than hard-earned survival wisdom. "I would like to review the containment plans anyway," she said quietly. "Just to familiarize myself with your procedures." "Of course." Director Vex seemed pleased that she was backing down. "Dr. Mira will provide you with full access to our systems. We want you to feel included in our work, even if your expertise is not yet at our level." The briefing continued for another hour. Sarah learned about the various departments, the research goals, and the station's impressive safety record. She learned that Prometheus 9 had been operating for 47 years without a single serious incident. She learned that every species housed here was content, healthy, and peaceful. She also learned that not a single person on this station understood what real danger looked like. That evening, Sarah sat alone in her quarters reviewing the preliminary data on the Night Stalker. The images were poor quality, taken from distance by nervous survey team members, but she could see enough. The creature was massive, easily 4 meters long with a powerful build. Its hide appeared thick and armored. Multiple eyes suggested enhanced visual capabilities. The limbs ended in what looked like retractable claws. Most concerning were the behavior notes. The survey team had observed the Night Stalker hunting and killing another large predator with brutal efficiency. It had then defended its kill by attacking their observation drones, destroying 5 before they managed to dart it with tranquilizers. Even sedated, it had required 3 additional doses to keep it unconscious during transport. This was not a peaceful creature that had been startled. This was an apex predator being dragged into captivity. Sarah pulled up the containment specifications and felt her stomach drop. The energy barriers were designed to discourage animals from wandering, not to stop something that wanted out. The walls were standard reinforced polymer, strong enough for any creature the station had encountered, but nowhere near adequate for a determined predator. The habitat was spacious but sterile, offering no mental stimulation for an intelligent hunter. She began drafting a report detailing necessary changes: reinforced containment, backup security systems, stress monitoring equipment, environmental enrichment, behavioral assessment protocols, everything she would use for a dangerous animal on Earth. Her door chimed. She opened it to find Dr. Mira standing outside, her 6 limbs holding various data pads. "I brought the files you requested," the small alien said, entering without invitation. Her fur rippled with colors that might indicate emotion. "I also wanted to speak with you privately." Sarah gestured to a chair. "What about?" "The others think your concerns are amusing, but I am not so certain." Dr. Mira's translator gave her voice a musical quality. "I have read some Earth scientific papers. Your world truly is different from ours, is it not?" "Very different." Sarah felt grateful for even this small acknowledgement. "On Earth, predation is common. Herbivores develop defenses. Predators develop hunting strategies. Everything is in constant competition. We do not have this." Dr. Mira settled into the chair, her limbs folding in complex patterns. "My world, like most in the galactic community, evolved through cooperation. Our animals share resources. Our predators, if you can call them that, eat only plants or very small creatures. Violence is rare. That explains why your containment protocols would not work on a true predator." Dr. Mira made a sound like wind through leaves. "I believe you may be correct. But Director Vex will not listen. He has 40 years of experience and has never been wrong. Your suggestions..." Sarah pulled up her draft report. "First, I would upgrade containment to maximum security. Physical barriers, not just energy fields. Second, I would monitor the creature's stress levels constantly and adjust the environment to minimize anxiety. Third, I would never assume it is safe just because it looks calm. Predators are patient. This would be expensive and time-consuming. Yes. Sarah met the alien's eyes, but cheaper than a containment breach. Dr. Mira stood to leave, then paused at the door. I will mention your concerns to Director Vex. I cannot promise he will listen, but I will try. After the researcher left, Sarah lay awake for hours. Tomorrow, the Night Stalker would arrive. Tomorrow, a creature bred for violence would be placed in a cage designed for peaceful animals. Tomorrow, her worst fears might prove correct. She finally fell into an uneasy sleep, dreaming of claws and teeth and the screams of people who did not understand danger until it was far too late. When instinct meets intelligence, the transport ship arrived during the station's morning cycle. Sarah had barely slept, spending most of the night running simulations and preparing emergency equipment that the station did not officially need. She stood in the receiving bay with the rest of the research team, watching as the massive containment unit was unloaded from the cargo hold. The container was 3 times larger than anything else the station housed. Warning symbols covered its surface in multiple languages. Sarah recognized some from Earth protocols, biohazard indicators, extreme danger warnings, authorized personnel only. The aliens around her saw the same symbols and looked mildly curious, as if they were interesting decorative patterns rather than screaming alerts. Director Vex stood at the front of the group, his crystalline body practically glowing with excitement. This is a momentous occasion. We are about to meet a creature from a previously unknown world. Whatever we learn here will advance xenobiology for generations. Sarah moved closer to the container. Through the small observation window, she could see movement inside. Something large shifted in the darkness. She caught a glimpse of armored hide, of eyes that reflected the light with a predatory gleam. Her every instinct screamed danger. The automated systems began the transfer process. The container was moved onto a hover platform and guided toward Containment Section C. The research team followed in an excited cluster, chattering among themselves about the discoveries they would make. Sarah fell into step beside Dr. Mira. "Have you spoken with Director Vex?" "I tried," the small alien said quietly. "He thanked me for my concern and reminded me that we have never had a containment failure. He sees your worries as charming but misguided." They reached Containment Lab 7, where the Night Stalker would be housed. The habitat was spacious and clean, with carefully controlled temperature and humidity. Energy barriers hummed at low frequency, creating invisible walls that would discourage the creature from leaving its designated area. Automated feeding systems stood ready to dispense nutrition. Sensor arrays would monitor basic health indicators. It was completely inadequate. The container was positioned at the habitat entrance. Director Vex activated the transfer sequence with a flourish. Now we shall see our magnificent new specimen in all its glory. The container's door began to open slowly. Sarah found herself holding her breath. Other researchers pressed closer, eager for their first real look at the creature. The Night Stalker emerged into the light, and Sarah's worst fears were confirmed. The creature was even larger than the images suggested, easily 4.5 meters from nose to tail. Its body combined features from multiple Earth predators in ways that suggested parallel evolution on a similarly dangerous world. The bulk and power of a bear, the sleek muscle structure of a big cat, the armor plating of a crocodile. Its head held 6 eyes arranged to provide nearly complete visual coverage. 4 powerful limbs ended in claws that looked capable of shredding metal. But what caught Sarah's attention was the behavior. The Night Stalker did not rush forward or cower in fear. Instead, it moved with careful deliberation, its eyes scanning everything in methodical sweeps. It was mapping its environment, cataloging threats and escape routes. This was not a frightened animal. This was a strategic thinker, assessing a tactical situation. "Magnificent," Dr. Finn breathed. The avian researcher's feathers were fully displayed in excitement. Look at that musculature, the sensory organs, the adaptive armor. This creature is a masterpiece of evolution. The Night Stalker turned its head toward the sound of Dr. Finn's voice. All 6 eyes focused on the bird-like alien with an intensity that made Sarah's skin crawl. She recognized that look. She had seen it in the eyes of grizzly bears sizing up potential threats, in mountain lions calculating whether prey was worth the energy to hunt. "Everyone, please step back from the habitat," Sarah said calmly but firmly. "Give the creature space to acclimate." "Nonsense," Director Vex replied. "We need detailed observations during this initial period. The first hours are crucial for establishing baseline behavior." The Night Stalker began to move along the perimeter of its habitat. Its movements were precise and purposeful. It touched the energy barrier briefly, then pulled back as the field delivered a mild, deterrent shock. Sarah saw its body stiffen. "The barrier is hurting it," she said. "Look at its posture. That is pain response." "It is just a minor discomfort to establish boundaries," Director Vex explained. "All our specimens experience this initially. They quickly learn to avoid the barriers and settle into their space, but the Night Stalker did not settle. Instead, it systematically tested different sections of the barrier, enduring the shocks to gather information. It was learning the system's parameters, understanding its prison. Sarah pulled out a handheld scanner from her kit. "Director, permission to take stress readings if you must, but do not interfere with our protocols." She activated the scanner, pointing it at the Night Stalker. The readings made her blood run cold. The creature's cortisol equivalent was through the roof. Its heart rate was elevated. Brain activity showed patterns consistent with extreme stress and aggression. Every biological indicator screamed that this animal was on the edge of a violent episode. "Director, these readings are critical. This creature is in severe distress. We need to modify the containment immediately or we will have a breach. Dr. Chen, your Earth devices may not be properly calibrated for alien biology." Director Vex's patience was clearly wearing thin. "Trust our established methods." The Night Stalker had completed its circuit of the habitat. Now it stood perfectly still in the center, its eyes fixed on the observation window where the researchers gathered. Sarah felt those eyes lock onto her specifically. For a moment, they stared at each other, predator and observer. In that moment, Sarah understood. The creature was not mindlessly aggressive. It was terrified, confused, and in pain. It had been ripped from its home, subjected to capture and transport, and was now trapped in an environment that caused it constant discomfort. It did not want to hurt anyone. It just wanted to escape. But wanting to escape and being able to cause harm while escaping were not mutually exclusive. "Please," Sarah tried one more time. "Let me implement additional security measures. Reinforce the barriers. Adjust the energy field frequency. Give it environmental enrichment to reduce stress. Your concern is noted," Director Vex said coldly. "Now please allow the actual xenobiologists to do their work." Sarah stepped back, her hands clenched into fists. She caught Dr. Mira's eye. The small alien looked worried, her fur colors shifting rapidly. For 3 hours, the research team observed and documented. The Night Stalker paced, tested the barriers, and gradually showed signs of increasing agitation. Its movements became less calculated and more frantic. The stress readings continued to climb. Sarah remained nearby, unable to leave despite knowing she was being ignored. She prepared her emergency equipment quietly, a tranquilizer gun loaded with doses calculated for a creature of this size, scent blockers that might confuse its tracking, abilities, a sonic device that could create directional sound barriers. As the station's evening cycle began, most of the research team departed for meals and rest. Only a few observation staff remained, monitoring the Night Stalker through remote systems. Sarah was already moving before others could react. She activated the station-wide alert as she ran. "Emergency. Containment breach in Lab 7. This is not a drill. All personnel evacuate to safe zones immediately." The Night Stalker emerged into the corridor, its eyes wild with stress and fear. It saw movement and charged toward a group of researchers who had been working late. They screamed and ran, their instinct for self-preservation finally kicking in, despite their peaceful evolutionary background. But they were slow, uncoordinated, unprepared for real danger. Sarah put herself between the predator and its targets. She raised her hands, made herself small, controlled her breathing. Every movement was deliberate and non-threatening. "Stop," she said quietly. "I am not your enemy." The Night Stalker skidded to a halt, confused by this prey that did not run. Its 6 eyes focused on her with terrible intensity. Behind her, the researchers scrambled to safety. Ahead of her, security teams were mobilizing with equipment designed for peaceful animals. Sonic disruptors, bright lights, containment nets. All the wrong tools for this situation. Sarah kept her eyes on the Night Stalker. She saw its muscles tense, saw the calculation in its eyes. It was deciding whether she was a threat or an obstacle to remove. She activated her scent blocker, reducing her biological signature. She shifted her posture into a non-aggressive stance, using body language techniques that worked on Earth predators. She began to hum, a low, calming sound that carried no threat. The Night Stalker tilted its head, momentarily uncertain. That uncertainty saved lives. Security teams arrived, their weapons armed and ready. "Do not," Sarah said sharply without taking her eyes off the creature. "Do not use those weapons. You will make it worse." Dr. Chen, step aside. The security chief, a large insectoid alien named Crix, aimed a sonic disruptor. "We will handle this." "If you fire that weapon," Sarah said with deadly calm, "you will hurt it and it will attack. I can handle this. Give me a chance." "You have 30 seconds, Director Vex's voice came over the communication system. He was watching from a safe control room. "Then we subdue it by force. 30 seconds to build trust with a terrified predator." Sarah had faced worse odds. She took a small step forward, keeping her movement smooth and predictable. The Night Stalker growled, a deep rumble that vibrated through the floor. "Warning, not attack." "I know you are scared," Sarah said softly. "I know you do not understand what is happening. But I can help you. Will you let me help you?" She pulled out a small device and held it where the creature could see it. Slowly, telegraphing her every movement, she activated it. The device was an energy field dampener, something she had prepared for exactly this situation. It created a bubble of space where the painful energy frequencies from the containment system could not reach. The effect was immediate. The Night Stalker's sensory organs, which had been pressed flat against its body in pain, slowly lifted. The tension in its muscles decreased. Its breathing slowed from panicked gasps to something more controlled. Sarah took another step forward. Then another. The security team behind her was frozen in shock. No one had ever seen anything like this. A human approaching an apex predator as if they were old friends. She was close now, close enough to touch. Close enough to die if the creature decided she was a threat. The Night Stalker looked down at her. Sarah looked up at it. Two beings from violent worlds meeting and understanding. Slowly, carefully, Sarah raised her hand and placed it against the creature's armored chest. It was warm. She could feel the rapid heartbeat underneath beginning to calm. The Night Stalker made a sound, not a growl, but something softer. It leaned slightly into her touch, accepting the contact. The security team lowered their weapons in disbelief. Director Vex's voice came over the speakers, stunned into silence. Sarah began to stroke the armored plates gently, her movements confident and soothing. "You are safe now. I promise. No more pain. No more fear." The creature's eyes began to close halfway, a sign of relaxation in many Earth predators. Sarah continued her gentle contact, building trust through touch and tone. "This is impossible," someone whispered over the communication system. But it was not impossible. It was just understanding. It was recognizing that every living creature, no matter how dangerous, responded to kindness when given properly and safely. It was knowing that fear made all beings aggressive and comfort made them peaceful. Sarah kept one hand on the Night Stalker and began to guide it gently back toward the containment area. The creature walked beside her, no longer fighting, no longer seeking escape. It had found something it needed more than freedom. It had found understanding. They walked through the corridors slowly. Behind them, the security team followed at a cautious distance. Researchers peered from doorways in amazement. Director Vex met them at the containment lab, his crystalline face showing an expression Sarah could not read. "How?" was all he could say. Sarah did not answer immediately. She guided the Night Stalker into a temporary holding area, one she had prepared earlier with soft materials and proper lighting. The creature settled down willingly, keeping its eyes on her. Only then did Sarah turn to Director Vex. "Because I listened when it told me what it needed. Because I recognized fear when I saw it. Because I understand that intelligence and danger are not opposites. They often go together." She pulled up the stress readings on a nearby display. "Look at these levels. This creature was in agony from the moment it arrived. Your energy barriers were painful to its sensory organs. Your procedures increased its panic. You created the aggression you feared. Director Vex stared at the data. Then at the Night Stalker, now resting peacefully. Then at Sarah. I was wrong, he said quietly. We were all wrong. The bridge between worlds, the next 3 weeks transformed Prometheus 9 in ways no one had anticipated. Sarah worked 16-hour days redesigning containment protocols, training staff and building trust with the Night Stalker. She was exhausted, pushed beyond her limits, but she could not stop. Too much depended on getting this right. The Night Stalker's new habitat was built from the ground up using Earth-based principles, physical barriers the creature could see and understand, rather than invisible energy fields. Proper lighting that did not hurt its sensitive eyes. Environmental enrichment that gave it mental stimulation, climbing structures, puzzle feeders, spaces to explore. Most importantly, no painful deterrent systems. Boundaries were established through training and positive reinforcement, not punishment. Sarah spent hours each day inside the habitat with the creature. She had named it Karis after the world it came from. The name felt right, acknowledging its origin rather than reducing it to a classification. Karis learned quickly. Too quickly for a supposedly non-sapient animal. It understood commands after a single demonstration. It solved complex puzzles designed for intelligent species. It even began initiating games, bringing objects to Sarah to engage in play behaviors. Dr. Mira attended every training session, taking detailed notes. This challenges everything we thought we knew about animal intelligence. Karis shows problem-solving abilities comparable to some sapient species. Intelligence evolves under different pressures, Sarah explained as she worked with Karis on a new enrichment activity. On peaceful worlds, intelligence develops through cooperation and resource management. On competitive worlds like Earth or Karis 7, intelligence develops through survival pressure. Both paths lead to sophisticated minds, just different kinds. She tossed a ball across the habitat. Karis caught it with surprising gentleness for a creature with such powerful jaws, then brought it back and dropped it at Sarah's feet. Again. But how do you know what it wants? Dr. Mira asked. How do you communicate without language? Body language is a language. Sarah threw the ball again. Watch its posture when it is happy versus stressed. Listen to the different vocalizations. See how its sensory organs change position based on mood. Everything communicates if you pay attention. Director Vex joined them later that day. His earlier arrogance had been replaced with genuine humility, a change that surprised everyone on the station. Dr. Chen, I owe you more than an apology. You saved lives and prevented a disaster that would have destroyed the station's reputation. The Galactic Council has reviewed the footage of your intervention. They were deeply impressed. I was just doing what needed to be done. Hardly just that. Director Vex activated a holographic display. The Council wants to expand our research focus. They are now funding a new department specifically dedicated to studying high-pressure evolution worlds. Worlds like Earth and Karis 7 where danger shapes intelligence. That is good news. Sarah felt relief wash over her. Maybe this means fewer mistakes like the one we almost made here. There is more. The Council wants you to lead this department. Sarah nearly dropped the ball she was holding. Study Deathworld species. Develop proper containment and care protocols. Train personnel in working with dangerous animals, and eventually, establish contact with other high-pressure evolution worlds. Director Vex's 4 eyes showed genuine enthusiasm. We have been exploring the galaxy for millennia, Dr. Chen. But we have been avoiding certain types of worlds because we did not understand them. You can change that. Sarah thought about Earth, about the countless humans who had learned to coexist with danger because they had no choice. She thought about the knowledge her species had accumulated through millions of years of evolution, knowledge that suddenly had value beyond their own world. I will do it, she said, but I have conditions. Name them. First, we recruit more humans, specialists in different dangerous animals, marine biologists who work with sharks, herpetologists who handle venomous snakes, wildlife rehabilitators who understand predator psychology. Earth has countless experts we can learn from. Agreed. Second, we establish protocols that prioritize the animal's welfare, not just our safety. These creatures deserve respect, not just containment. Of course. Third, we never dismiss knowledge as primitive just because it comes from a young civilization. Evolution teaches different lessons on different worlds. All of them are valuable. Director Vex extended a crystalline hand in the human gesture he had learned. "You have my word, Director Chen." Sarah shook his hand, accepting the responsibility. "Then let us build something new." The following months brought rapid changes. Prometheus 9's new wing opened, designed specifically for high-stress evolution species. 5 more humans joined the team, each bringing specialized knowledge from Earth. Dr. Marcus Webb, who had worked with orcas and great white sharks. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, an expert in venomous reptiles from 6 continents. Dr. James Okonkwo, who spent 20 years in African wildlife reserves with lions and elephants. Together, they created a new field of xenobiology, Deathworld ecology. They developed training programs that taught alien researchers how to read predator behavior, how to build trust instead of dominance, how to respect danger while still conducting meaningful research. 6 new specimens arrived from various high-pressure worlds, each one bringing unique challenges. A pack hunter that required complex social structures, an ambush predator with perfect camouflage, a creature that hunted in complete darkness using echolocation. The human team handled each arrival with patience and expertise that amazed their alien colleagues. But Karis remained special. The Night Stalker had become a symbol of what was possible when different evolutionary paths met with understanding instead of fear. Sarah still spent time with it daily, maintaining their bond while also teaching others how to build similar connections. One afternoon, she brought a group of visiting xenobiologists to observe a training session. They watched from the observation area as Sarah worked with Karis on a complex problem-solving task. The creature had to manipulate 3 different mechanisms in the correct sequence to access a reward. Carrie studied the puzzle, tried several approaches, then suddenly solved it with what looked like a moment of insight. The visitors erupted in excited chatter. Sarah smiled, pleased to see their enthusiasm. Dr. Mira approached her after the session ended. "We have received confirmation from the Galactic Council. They are approving first contact protocols for 2 more high-pressure worlds. Your department will oversee the initial assessments." "Which worlds?" "One is mostly ocean, similar to Earth's marine ecosystems. The other is high gravity with extreme weather patterns. Both are predicted to have developed competitive evolution. The survey teams are requesting human specialists before they proceed." Sarah felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. This was it. The real work began now. Not just studying creatures brought to them, but actively seeking understanding with entire worlds shaped by danger. What about the inhabitants? Are there signs of sapient life on either world? Unknown. The surveys are preliminary. But that is why we need caution. If intelligent life exists on these worlds, they will have evolved very differently from the galactic norm, like humans did. Exactly. Dr. Mira's fur rippled with colors that Sarah had learned to recognize as respect. You will know how to approach them, how to communicate, how to build trust. You have already proven this with Karis. Sarah looked through the observation window at the Night Stalker. Karis had noticed her attention and raised its head, 6 eyes focusing on her with clear recognition and affection. 3 months ago, this creature was considered a monster, something to be contained and studied from a distance. Now it was a partner in research, teaching alien scientists about intelligence they had never imagined existed. If they could build this bridge with Karis, maybe they could build others. "I will need time to prepare the team," Sarah said. "These missions require more planning than anything we have done before. You have whatever resources you need. Director Vex has given your department full authority." Over the next several weeks, Sarah assembled mission teams. Each group included humans with specific expertise and alien scientists eager to learn. They studied the preliminary survey data, developed approach strategies, prepared equipment for unknown conditions. The night before the first mission launched, Sarah returned to spend time with Karis. She entered the habitat and settled into their usual spot. The Night Stalker immediately came over, settling down beside her with its massive head resting near her shoulder. "We did something important together," Sarah said softly, stroking the armored plates she had come to know so well. "You taught them that Deathworlders are not myths, that danger and intelligence can coexist. That understanding matters more than fear." Karis made a low rumbling sound. The one Sarah had learned meant contentment and trust. "I am going away for a while. Not forever, but I will be gone several months. You will be fine here. Dr. Mira and the others know how to care for you now. They understand what you need." The creature shifted position, pressing closer against her. Sarah felt the warmth of its body, the steady breathing, the complete trust it had placed in her. She had saved its life by understanding it. It had saved her career by teaching her that the knowledge Earth had given her was more valuable than she had ever imagined. When Sarah finally left the habitat that night, she paused at the observation window for one last look. Karis watched her go, calm and peaceful in a way that would have been impossible 3 months ago. Dr. Mira waited in the corridor. "Ready for tomorrow?" "Ready." Sarah adjusted her pack. The transport ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying humans and aliens together toward a world shaped by danger. Behind them, Karis settled down to sleep in its comfortable habitat, dreaming whatever dreams a Deathworld predator dreams when it finally feels safe. And across the galaxy, other creatures waited on worlds no one dared approach. Intelligent or not, dangerous or not, deserving of understanding all the same. The myths about Deathworlders were dying, replaced by something far more important. Knowledge, respect, and the recognition that every path evolution takes teaches something valuable. Humanity had walked a violent road to reach the stars. Now they would help others understand that violence and wisdom were not opposites. They were just different faces of survival. Different answers to the ancient question of how to endure in a universe that did not care whether you lived or died. Sarah had answered that question by caring, by seeing intelligence in danger, by finding connection with a creature everyone else called a monster. It was a lesson worth teaching to the entire galaxy.